Good evening. I would like to call to order the City of Cerritos Planning Commission special meeting on Thursday, May 8th, 2025. Ms. Aguila, please call the roll. Oh, actually, whoops, sorry. Sorry about that. Next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would like to ask Commissioner Al to please lead us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please all stand. Place your right hand over your heart, facing the flag. 1, 2, 3.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Sit down.
Thank you, Commissioner Al. Ms. Aguila, please call the roll.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chair and members of the Planning Commission. We will begin roll call vote. Commission Member Al,
Present.
Commission Member Chauhan,
Present.
Commission Member Javeri,
Present.
Vice Chair Reyes,
Present.
and Chair Polito.
Present.
All members noted present for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguila. Next is item number 4, public comments and suggestions. This section is reserved for public comment on consent calendar and items not listed on the agenda, but that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. Verbal comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, subject to the chair exceeding to a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker, with a total time allotted not to exceed 45 minutes unless the chair extends. I would like to open public comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment? Please identify yourself when you come to the podium. Okay, seeing none, public comment section is closed. Next on the agenda is the consent calendar, item number 5. 5A is approval of the minutes of the Wednesday, April 2nd, Planning Commission regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Aguila.
Thank you, Chair Polito. I was just going to suggest, because the two meetings were taken concurrently, both the regular meeting and the special meeting of April 2nd, if it's the pleasure of the Planning Commission, you can call for one motion for both items, or we can bifurcate the two and call them separately. But because the agenda items were taken concurrently, it would be appropriate to make one motion for both.
Thank you, Ms. Aguila. Do you have a motion from my colleagues?
Yeah, I move that we approve the Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 Planning Commission regular meeting and Planning Commission special meeting minutes. That was done again on April 2nd, 2025.
I second.
Thank you. So we have a first by Vice Chair Reyes and a second by Commissioner Au. I'm going to do the electronic voting with, although the screen says 5A, with the understanding that that vote is for both 5A and 5B this time. So if you allow me one moment. Actually, it looks like the electronic voting is not working, so I'm going to do a roll call vote. Thank you. So we'll begin with Commissioner Au,
Aye.
Commissioner Chauhan,
Aye.
Commissioner Javeri,
Abstain.
Vice Chair Reyes.
Aye.
Thank you. Chair Polito.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0 with one commissioner abstaining. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6 is public hearings, and first item is 6A. Ms. Aguila?
Thank you. Good evening, members of the Cerritos Planning Commission. Item 6A this evening is a proposed residential development of 5 new homes under Precise Plan 2025-5. I would like to note, for the benefit of the Commission, for the new members of the Commission, but also the past sitting commissioners as well, that in the agenda materials and in the public hearing notices for this item, you will note that the project does include 5 single-family homes plus 5 accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. Under applicable state housing law, review of accessory dwelling units is not accessory dwelling units is not subject to discretionary review by neither the Planning Commission or the City Council. Accessory dwelling units are required to be reviewed administratively at a staff level. However, the project presented before you this evening does include some information on the ADUs, just as an FYI for your information, because it is collectively the project. But I do want to note for those here in attendance and watching at home that your consideration of this Precise Plan 2025-5, is for the development of the 5 single-family homes. And so with that, just brief little introduction. Item 6A this evening will be presented by Senior Planner Jeremy Lowe, and at this time, I'll turn your attention to Mr. Lowe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguila. Good evening, Chair and Cerritos Planning Commissioners. The applicant, Clarkdale Estate Homes, is requesting approval of Precise Plan 2025-5 to construct a new single-family residential development on 5 existing adjacent properties located at 17200 through 17224 Clarkdale Avenue. The residential development proposed under Precise Plan 2025-5 includes the construction of 5 two-story single-family residences and 5 detached accessory dwelling units, as mentioned by Director Aguila, each featuring enhanced architectural detailing. I will now present to your attention to the screen. This is an aerial photo of the subject properties, which are generally located east of Pioneer Boulevard, north of Artesia Boulevard, and south of the I-91 freeway. The subject properties are zoned single-family residential, RS 6500. This is an enlarged aerial view that shows details of the subject properties, which are bordered on the north by an office development located in the city of Artesia, and on the west by Clarkdale Avenue, across which is a commercial shopping center also located in the city of Artesia. The subject properties are bordered on the east by Leclerc Street and Juarez Elementary School, and on the south by a single-family residence. This photo shows the existing conditions of the subject property. This is a view looking northeast at the existing vacant parcels. This is a view looking southeast. And this is a view looking west from Leclerc Street. This photo shows the fenced and barricaded segment of Leclerc Street, which I will discuss shortly. For background purposes, I would like to give a brief history of the recent entitlements for these properties. In September of 2020, the City Council previously approved a housing development at the subject properties, which included the subdivision of property to establish the 5 separate residential lots, the vacating and closure of a portion of an adjacent residential street, Leclerc Street, by the City of Cerritos, and the development of 5 two-story residences. While the subdivision of property as well as the vacating and closure of Leclerc Street have been completed, the previously approved 5 single-family residences were not constructed due to economic constraints. As a result, the project approval under Precise Plan 2020-5 has since expired. At this time, the applicant desires to move forward with the development under a new entitlement, Precise Plan 2025-5, for the development of 5 two-story single-family residences and 5 accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. Please be advised that, per applicable state housing law, the accessory dwelling units are not subject to discretionary review and approval, but have been included in the proposal and presentation for reference. The Planning Commission nor the City Council have authority to review the accessory dwelling units, and the units will be processed administratively. This is the proposed site plan showing the 5 residentially zoned parcels. The applicant is requesting approval to construct 1 new 2-story primary residence and 1 detached accessory dwelling unit on each property. As proposed, the development will include 2 floor plan types, which are essentially mirrored floor plans with minor alterations. Plan 1 will have 1,398 square feet of floor area on the first floor and 1,536 square feet on the second floor, and an attached 3-car garage. Plan 2 will have 1,354 square feet of floor area on the first floor and 1,502 square feet on the second floor, and an attached 3-car garage. This is the proposed floor plan, first floor plan for Plan 1. Upon completion, the first floor will include an entry foyer, a living and dining room, a kitchen, a powder room, a pantry, and a bedroom with a bathroom. This is the proposed second floor for Floor Plan 1. Upon completion, the second floor will include a master bedroom with bathroom and walk-in closet, a bedroom with a bathroom, 2 bedrooms, a laundry room, and an additional bathroom. On this slide are the proposed elevations for Plan 1. The architectural style of the new residences will be a contemporary style and will feature minimum 4-inch wide trims on all windows and exterior doors, an architectural band wrapping the sides and rear of the residence, as well as a stone wainscot wrapping the entire residence. Plan 1 features beige-colored stucco with darker hued trims. The roof will be a natural red blend concrete tile. The decorative stone wainscot, which wraps the entire house, will be a complementary earth tone, and the garage door will be painted a darker brown. The applicant has provided the proposed materials and paint color board for Plan 1, which ordinarily would be provided on the dais for the Planning Commission. On this slide is the proposed first floor plan for Plan 2, which will include the same room composition as Plan 1 in a slightly different configuration. This is the proposed second floor plan for Plan 2, again, mirroring Plan 1, but in a slightly different configuration. And on this slide are the proposed elevations for Plan 2 as well. Again, featuring 4-inch trims on all windows and doors, a band on all elevations, as well as a stone wainscot on all elevations. Plan 2 features white colored stucco with light gray trims. The roof will be a natural concrete tile. The decorative stone wainscot, which wraps the entire house, will be a complementary shade of gray. And the garage door will also be painted a light gray. The applicant has provided proposed material and paint color board for Plan 2 as well. This is the adjacent neighbor plan, which shows the location of second-story windows on the subject properties and their relationship to each other. As shown on the plan, in red, there is no direct alignment of windows between any of the properties. Therefore, any possible privacy issues arising from window placement have been mitigated through the project's design. The applicant has hired a California licensed landscape architect who has prepared a conceptual landscape plan for the subject properties. The proposed plan provides for front and rear yard landscaping for each of the 5 residential properties. The front yard landscape designs feature a variety of trees, shrubs, and ground cover in a water-efficient landscape palette, and is intended to provide an inviting and lush, landscaped living environment for these new residences. The proposed conceptual landscape plan also includes 1 tree and ground cover in the parkway area in front of each property. Said parkway areas will be dedicated to the city per project-specific conditions of approval. Here we have a perspective rendering facing northeast showing the 5 new residences. This is a perspective rendering facing east between lots 3 and 4. As mentioned, the subject properties are vacant and undeveloped. Therefore, as part of the proposed project, the applicant will be required to install public infrastructure and all underground utilities to serve each of the residences. As there are currently no existing sewer lines on Clarkdale Avenue, the applicant proposes to connect the residential development to the existing sewer system in the adjacent residential neighborhood to the east. Additionally, an existing reclaimed water line currently lies underneath the vacated segment of Eclair Street and is required to be relocated to facilitate the development. The reclaimed water line and new sewer line will be located within a 10-foot public utility easement at the southern end of the project site. Due to the proximity of the proposed sewer line to the relocated reclaimed water line, the sewer line will be required to be constructed within an encasement. The applicant will be required to pay the residential development's proportionate share of infrastructure improvements, such as resurfacing Clarkdale Avenue and improvements to the sewer lift station, and pumps serving the sewer system the development will connect to. Finally, the applicant will be required to install a 4-inch electrical conduit within Clarkdale Avenue along the property frontages. As part of the review of the previous approved entitlements, a traffic impact assessment was required by the city to assess the potential circulation impacts associated with the vacation and permanent closure of Eclair Street. Based upon an analysis of trip generation, trip distribution, and surrounding intersection levels of service, the assessment concluded that the proposed housing development, including the street closure, will not significantly impact the surrounding traffic system. In addition, the applicant had previously held 2 community meetings to solicit input at the time. As the surrounding conditions have not changed and the current proposal is substantially the same as previously approved, it was determined that no new or supplemental traffic impact assessment would be required for the development. As the current proposal is substantially the same as previously approved, and given the neighborhood support for the previous proposal, it was determined that new community meetings would not be necessary prior to tonight's meeting. Instead, staff called several of the immediate neighbors as a courtesy, informing them of the proposal's return and to solicit any input. As a result of these calls, adjacent property owners, including ABC Unified School District, expressed support for the project. In addition, a notice of a public hearing regarding this item was mailed to owners of property within 500 feet of the subject properties on April 25th, 2025, which is at least 10 days prior to the public hearing this evening as required by the Cerritos Municipal Code. Notices were also posted at the city's 4 designated posting boards on April 25th, 2025. The staff report and all exhibits were posted on the city's website. In response to the notice and agenda report for this item, staff received 2 emailed public comments. One from the California Housing Defense Fund in support of the proposal, and one from a neighbor related to street lighting on Clarkdale Avenue. This concludes the details of the proposed project. The project has been evaluated in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, and staff has determined that the proposed project is exempt from CEQA review, pursuant to Section 15332 regarding infill development. At this time, it is recommended that the Planning Commission review and discuss the information provided, conduct a public hearing, and adopt a resolution recommending approval of Precise Plan 2025-5 by the City Council. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff would be happy to answer any questions at this time. The project architect and contractor is also available to answer any questions the Commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe, for the report. Before we open the public hearing, I wanted to see if any of my colleagues have any questions or comments. We'll start with Commissioner Javeri. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity. I have a few questions for the staff. Back in 2020, who was the applicant? Was it the same applicant or different?
It is the same applicant.
Same applicant. So they did not pursue further back then due to economic situations. How things have changed now?
So
I can go ahead and elaborate that. Thank you, Commissioner Javeri. So, as mentioned, this project was approved in 2020. And as we all know, the COVID pandemic unfortunately led to economic constraints of property owners nationwide, really. And so at that time, while the street was vacated and closed, the property owner faced financial hardship and took a pause on the development of the project. And since that time, the property owner has indicated that, 5 years later, he is ready to develop this project. And at the same time, while the demand for these homes never went away, he now is in a financial position to develop the homes.
Thank you. Currently, what is the zoning of this area, this lot?
It is currently zoned single-family residential, or RS 6500.
Okay. I see the attachment that we received, this written correspondence. So, who is this Cal HDF? How are they related to the applicant?
Thank you, Commissioner Javeri. So, as the Planning Commission is aware, the state of California, as declared by Governor Newsom, is currently facing not only a housing crisis, but an affordable housing crisis. And as a result, and I mean, it's nothing new. We talked earlier about applicable state housing law, applicable to ADUs. The state of California has put a significant push on the development of housing. It's not just the development of affordable housing, but the development of housing for all income types. I failed to mention earlier when I introduced this item, this site, the 5 sites for this proposed project, I'll get to your question in just a moment, but this site for the proposed project this evening was identified in the city's City Council adopted and state certified 2021-2029 housing element. And in that housing element, we have identified 5 sites in the city of Cerritos suitable for residential development. And that varies for very low income, moderate income, and above moderate income, which is market rate, which is what is proposed before you today. When the state declared the housing crisis, and through the requirements placed on local jurisdictions to assist in facilitating the development of housing, this entity, the entity who provided the public comment letter, as well as numerous other entities, they are special interest housing advocates. They're housing advocate groups who have the intent to hold cities accountable to meet the state's goals to provide housing. And this site is unique, as I mentioned, because it was identified in the housing element as a potential and realistically suitable location for actual development. As Mr. Lowe indicated, the site is vacant. There's no existing structures, and so that is why it was identified in the housing element and in working with the property owner who had every intention of developing. So the long and the short is the letter is provided by a housing interest group who wants to ensure that not only the city of Cerritos, but it's statewide, that every city in the city of Cerritos, or every city in the state of California does facilitate their fair share of housing. And so the letter received this afternoon, which was disseminated to the Planning Commission and posted on the city's website for the general public, is provided with that intent to express its support in the facilitation of housing on the subject property, and to let the city, the Planning Commission, and the general public know that the city is required to develop housing, or facilitate the development of housing, and they support this project because it does just that. So I hope that answered your question. It's a really long answer, but I want to, for the benefit of the new commissioners, provide that additional background.
So, is this an arm of the state government, or is it an independent body?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. This is an independent body. If you look at the second page of the letter, the last paragraph, it says Cal HDF is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. So this is totally separate from the state government. They just have the name California in their organizational's name.
So, it's being an independent body. how are we to know whether it has any relationship to the applicant or not?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. Being an independent body and just looking at the letter by itself, the fact that they haven't stated that they have any relationship to the applicant is sort of the basis for the determination that they are not related to the applicant in this letter.
Does it go automatically? Does it mean that? Or
If I may, we do have representatives from the applicant here with us. When we open the public hearing, we could call to the stand representatives from the property owner to confirm whether or not they are affiliated with this housing interest group. I will say the city receives letters from housing groups similar to the one that you received today weekly. We receive letters all of the time from these housing organizations to let us know what we're required to do as mandated by the state. So it's not rare for the city to receive a letter of this. We work with the city attorney's office, well, pretty much weekly on the letters that we receive. And really it's twofold, right? It's the state saying provide and facilitate housing, and it's these organizations to attempt to hold the city accountable to meet the statutes of the California Government Code in facilitating the development of housing.
And in terms of general practice, they would have listed if they had any sort of relationship to the applicant. And just by way of the city attorney's knowledge, this group sends these types of letters to different cities all throughout the state.
I see. Just want to clarify because I think the commission and the residents, they need to know what exactly. So it needs to be very clear. Another question is about the HAA. So do they provide legal protection to all development projects, or is this in particular?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. So upon looking at the HAA, the Housing Accountability Act, its provisions generally apply to very specific types of housing, and that's housing that's developed for either very low, or moderate income. There's also additional categories of emergency shelters and housing for farm workers, but because this proposed development doesn't fall within any of those categories, the HAA would not apply here. So we disagree with this legal assessment.
Right. So because it says that the laws would apply.
Yes.
So it doesn't, right?
The city attorney's office disagrees with their assessment of that law based on our analysis, respectfully.
All right. And now one last question. It mentioned that the traffic assessment, we don't need to redo that. Now, I believe that traffic assessment was done back in 2020, right? And we are in 2025. So I'm sure the traffic must have increased quite a bit.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Javeri. So in consultation with the city attorney's office, the traffic impact analysis, which determines, it does a vehicle miles traveled, it does a level of service analysis, determines the quantity of trips visiting to and from the project site. And in 2020, when the analysis was conducted, the project consisted of 5 homes, and the project to which traffic applies to per state housing law now is still 5 homes. And so the capacity studied under that analysis is still the same in terms of occupancy and trips to and from the project site. And so in consultation with the city attorney's office and in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, it has been determined by the city as lead agency that additional traffic analysis was not warranted for this project because the project scope did not increase.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Javeri. Commissioner Chauhan?
So I too have some clarifying questions, and they may be redundant, but can you please? Must the city approve ADU with the new application? Because on page 3,
See, due to state California building energy efficiency requirement became law effective, photovoltaic solar energy systems and residential development, including the development of ADU, must be approved.
Yes.
So in accordance with the California Building and Electrical Codes, any new structure in the city of Cerritos, residential, ADU, commercial, industrial, etc., any new structure now requires, pursuant to applicable California state law, the installation of solar panel and solar energy systems. And so that's applicable to both ADUs and single-family residential homes, whether the project comes to the Planning Commission or doesn't, any new structure. And when I say it doesn't come to the Planning Commission, that would be a brand-new ADU, would require solar panels, rooftop solar panels.
Are all ADUs built to the same specification as a main property?
In terms of
The build-out.
utilities
Are
or square
ADUs built to the
footage.
same specification as a normal house would be?
So in the city of Cerritos, we hold the development of ADUs to the same development standards, enhanced architectural detailing standards, roof standards, meaning, if the primary residence has a hip and gable roof, we require similar roofs for the ADUs. So in terms of standards, and you'll see the project before you today, the ADUs have the enhanced decorative stone placed, and so and this is whether this was coming to the Planning Commission or not. At a staff level, our team ensures with any ADU project brought before staff that it looks like the ADU was built at the time of the original home. It's held to the same standard of construction of the original home in terms of enhanced materials and design.
I have noticed the size of the ADU. Is there a minimum standard for the bedrooms?
So there are minimum standard requirements for square footage, maximum square footage that we are required to allow, but not for bedrooms. So in this case, the applicant is proposing that each ADU is 1,000 square feet. That meets the city's thresholds, or really it's the state's thresholds for ADUs. And so our administrative review of ADUs is only applicable to the square footage thresholds and not bedrooms, other than we are allowed to ensure that bedrooms have appropriate ingress and egress windows and closets. So, but in terms of quantity of bedrooms, no.
Is there an occupancy limit in the ADU?
I'm not aware of any occupancy limit. I would defer to the city attorney.
I'm not aware of any occupancy limit on the ADU.
And one of my concerns is, originally, this was proposed to be 5 houses. The city made a lot of accommodation because I was one of those people who actually listened in that particular meeting because I'm a proponent of houses. However, at that point, there was no mention of ADU. We accommodated the applicant by giving him a RS 6500, by giving him land also. Yet on the map, you have slightly 2 different maps. On page 19, it doesn't include the percentage of land. And again, we want housing, but we want it to be for the right reason. There's nothing to say that had these houses been built, that we would have had 5 houses and they could come back here and request ADU. Corollary, it's also possible that had the houses been built, those folks might have decided not to build ADUs. So now we have traffic not for 5 houses, but we have traffic for 10 houses. My concern still remains with the ADU. Where are they going to park? Primary house, perfect. 3-car garage, 3 parking spaces in front. Where is the poor ADU person supposed to park?
Thank you, Commissioner Chauhan. So I would say, generally speaking, while state law does not allow the city of Cerritos or any jurisdiction to enforce parking requirements for ADU units. We have worked with the applicant due to the fact that the primary resident meets our threshold, and the applicant has decided to include 3-car garages at each home and a driveway width that can accommodate maybe another 2 cars as well. Although we are not able to impose parking requirements on the development of those ADUs, staff did do an assessment with the property owner and, with 5, maybe 6 potential vehicle spaces, we feel like the project and the garages and the driveways satisfy, with limitations, the parking requirements of the municipal code.
Can the ADU be sold off separately?
From my understanding, as per this project, they cannot be sold off separately.
That is correct.
Thank you. And so overall, believe it or not, I do like this project. I do like the design overall. It's in alignment with what we need within the city of Cerritos. But I really do believe that our previous council would not have approved it with these conditions. But it is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chauhan. Commissioner Au?
Thank you. I did drive around this project site, and it's a nice little tucked away area, and I'm sure it's going to look really good once this project is finished. My question is this. If I understand it correctly, across Clarkdale, it is Artesia, right? So the commercial property you mentioned earlier, it belongs to the city of Artesia, right? So my question is, for this project, is there any kind of coordination, cooperation, consultation, whatever, with the city of Artesia necessary?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Al. That's a very good question. So as mentioned in this evening's presentation, all property owners within 500 feet of the subject 5 properties were notified of tonight's meeting by way of the public hearing notice and the posted agenda on the city's website. As an additional effort, the City of Cerritos, by way of the city manager's office and community development, did speak to staff from the city of Artesia to discuss this project. As back in 2020, the same communication was done. And so if I may direct your attention to page 118 of the City Council Agenda Report, in coordinating with the City of Artesia and at the recommendation of the City of Artesia, staff has included for consideration this evening project-specific condition of approval number 79. And it's essentially to require the applicant to record a covenant on each of these properties, to have the buyers, the owners of these properties, to attest 2 things. One, that they understand that directly across Clarkdale to their homes are fully developed commercial shopping centers, as well as that would be the north is an office building. And they acknowledge and understand that with those commercial and office uses come noise and traffic and, very varying hours of operation. And so they acknowledge that they're buying a property adjacent to a commercial center with those things, the varying hours and noise and et cetera. And then separately, in an effort to not impact the commercial or office properties, say one of these homes has a party and, while street parking is allowed during the daytime and, participants of their party can park on Clarkdale during the day, that those homeowners will attest to or acknowledge that their understanding that there is no parking in those adjacent commercial properties, and that all vehicles need to be parked inside the garages and on the driveways, and at night, because of the city's on-street parking restrictions at night, they cannot be on Clarkdale. During the day, they certainly can. Like all residential properties in the city can park on the streets during the day. And so, all that to say, in coordination with the city of Artesia and at the request of the city of Artesia, we have included tonight project-specific condition of approval 79 as explained.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Au. Vice Chair Reyes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Lowe, thank you for a very good presentation. Thank you for all the information that you has given us. That's question. Mr. Au raised the question of boundaries. So it is on the line of Cerritos and Artesia. So Clarkdale, who's responsible for maintaining that street?
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. I will defer to Director of Public Works, Alvin Papa, who is with us today. So, Mr. Papa?
Yes, hello, Commissioner. Thank you for the question. So the City of Cerritos, we maintain the east side of the street. So that's the sidewalk, the small portion of the pavement there, the street lights and everything along on the east side of the street. On the west side of the street, it is the City of Artesia.
So when the developer will pay for the resurfacing, is it from the whole street from Artesia Boulevard all the way to Frampton, east and west side of the street will be resurfaced?
The developer would pay for the portion of the street paving immediately in front of the frontage, but only for the portion within the City of Cerritos. So should the City of Cerritos decide to pave the street and put forth a project, we'd work with the City of Artesia to put a project forth, and then typically in these kind of situations, there's a cooperative agreement between both cities where Artesia would agree to pay for their proportionate share of the street. Should Artesia decide that they do not want to partner on a project, then in those situations, we would typically just pay our portion. Although I do have to add that that's typically very rare. So cities typically like to partner, work together, because there is a cost savings when cities work together on a project.
Yeah, the ice plant's still there, right? Artesia ice plant on Frampton, do they still have those trucks and stuff there? You don't know? Okay. So closure of Aclair Street, that is closed at this time, right? There's no you can't go from Aclair, traveling westbound to Clarkdale.
That is correct.
That's a cul-de-sac, right?
Yes.
So when you say closure off, are we adding additional barriers or?
So that section of Eclair Street, which was vacated by the city, is now part of what's called Lot 5. So it's actually it's part of a residential property now, which will be developed. So it'll become, it'll be walled off at the rear towards Eclair Street as the rear property line of Lot 5.
Okay. Yeah, that was trying to find out. I think Mr. Chow Chan, I really appreciate your question and your observation about the ADU, because when you say that there's no change into the traffic assessment, 2020-5 and 2025-5, same number of units, but then we did not, like Mr. Kurtz mentioned, that we did not count the people who might be residing in that ADUs, and having said publicly, we don't know how many. There's no limit on how many people can go there. So what would trigger a new traffic assessment, Mr. Lowe?
Apart from the 5 single-family residential 5 home development, if the density was to increase beyond that, technically all residentially zoned lots in the state of California can have an ADU. And so for the purpose of a traffic study, whether or not an ADU is approved or proposed or not, there's no difference. While there might be a material impact on traffic by the ADU, according to the state, there's no difference between these lots and any other lots back in 2020 and now in 2025.
All right. Thank you. Going back to the ADU, you mentioned a threshold of 1,000 square feet. Is that the maximum ADU you can have, or to clarify on that?
The maximum size of an ADU is actually 1,200 square feet.
Okay.
Barring some other cases, there's certain situations, but yeah, 1,200 square feet.
Thank you so much for those answers and clarifying some of those lingering questions out there. Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my question.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. I also have a couple of questions, and I liked hearing the discussion from my colleagues, and some of my questions were asked. I have two in specific. One was, since there's a school behind the project, are there different height requirements for the wall that's supposed to separate the school and the project?
So as originally proposed in Precise Plan 2020-5 and as currently proposed in Precise Plan 2025-5, an 8-foot high solid block wall is proposed at the rear property lines or the eastern property lines. 8 foot is actually the maximum height that the City of Cerritos allows for subdivision walls. So all the walls that say front a arterial street or boulevard have a maximum height of 8 feet, depending on what's proposed. And in this case, 8 feet is what's proposed.
Thank you. And then my second question is related to one of the public comments regarding lighting, because I know it wasn't included in the rendering. So since there's residential and then commercial, what kind of lighting will be on the included on the Clarkdale Street?
Thank you, Chair Polito. I will defer this question again to Mr. Papa.
Thank you, Commissioner Polito, for the question. So there is existing street lights on the street. On the east side of the street, there are 2 existing street lights with LED bulbs. Those are they're either owned and maintained by the City of Cerritos or Edison. When we got the comment today, we went out to go investigate. However, the Edison labels on the poles appear to be missing, so we are investigating that right now. On the west side of the street, there is a street light that's owned and maintained by the City of Artesia. So as it stands right now, there are existing street lights, and they were, yeah, so we're checking to see whether or not they are operating properly, and they have been referred to maintenance.
Thank you. And then I think my colleagues have another question.
I have a question. Is there anything to preclude ABC Unified School District from erecting a fence higher than 8 foot on their side of the property line?
It's a very good question. So generally speaking, in the City of Cerritos, we don't have plan check and permitting authority over properties that are of educational use. Educational properties in the City of Cerritos for permits and plan check are subject to the California Architectural Board. And so I don't know specifically the maximum wall height afforded to educational use properties at this time, but the city would not have jurisdictional control over that should the school choose to do so.
So a corollary question, is the property owner entitled to any view? Right now, there's no fence, so therefore I can see the mountain. If the district decides to put up a fence and I cannot see the mountain, can they come back to us?
So before City Attorney Shukan answers, there actually is currently a fence on the eastern property lines of the subject properties that has a solid backer on it. In fact, I can show the commissioners if they would like, and I believe it's actually exceeds 8 feet in height. 1 second while I share my screen. So it's kind of hard to see. I can actually try to zoom in. So actually at the back, the school has actually erected a likely higher than 8 foot tall fence with some kind of mesh or solid backing. So there currently is that situation.
Thank you.
One question.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just one curious. What's the closest community park they have in that area? Because I know people use the the elementary school to walk around, after hours. But is there any close community park? Because we really pride ourselves in having community parks in every community, but I'm not aware of any existing park in that area.
Unfortunately, staff does not have that information, but as a Cerritos property owner, actually, you don't actually have to be a Cerritos property owner to visit our parks, but we would afford them the same parks and recreation services as any other property owner in Cerritos.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to open up the public hearing section. Does anyone from the public would like to comment on this agenda item? Please come forward and identify yourself. Thank you.
My name is Ken Hitt. I live on Eclair Street within 500 foot of the property. I just have a couple of, I actually had questions, but I guess I'll just have to make statements. I want to just mention a few things for the group too. Across the street is a vacant building. The old ice place is vacant, and it's currently covered up with a fence, and around it also is a place that people like to dump garbage. Okay, there's a lot of garbage out there, and a lot of homeless. The reason, so that should be of some concern to whoever might want to live there. But also, my concern is, and part of the reason we wanted that wall across, is to prevent people, just going in and out of our neighborhood, other than the current two roads that you can go in and out. Especially with it just up the street, there used to be a club that's actually had shootings in the past. So it was a very big concern to us to make sure that whole area was not open. And it's my understanding that that's the case. But in the plans that I've seen here, it probably says it, but it's kind of hard to tell if it actually, that wall goes all the way to and actually abuts up to the wall, existing wall, such that that whole neighborhood is still closed off. Our neighborhood's closed off from that area. So that's one thing I couldn't tell from the thing. I assumed the property line would correlate with that, but I don't really know. Let's see. And also, it's my understanding from reading the material that the water and sewer on Eclair/Shasta Circle will be affected. At least there'll be some manner of modification to it. I just wanted to mention just a little concern about how long that will take and what the disruption would be. And let's see. Also, although it's irrelevant, I don't think it's part of the purview of this group, but we were told when this first came up that we actually asked for the wall to exist. And we were also told that that would be built first so that it would limit the amount of exposure to our neighborhood during the time of the building. So those are all just concerns I have. And hopefully, I don't know what given that the current way that facility is, or that area, it's, like I said, it's a vacant building across the street. It's got garbage on the sides of the street, especially on the, as you go up Clarkdale and you make the circle, there's garbage on there. And like I said, there's been multiple times we've had people in living there that are homeless, and also people who've parked their RV there for days on end. So I think that's all should be some little concern to your citizens, make sure that they're safe. And right now it's a little bit questionable. So I'm hoping, I really like the plans for this facility or these buildings, but I just hope that it's being done in a way that will, continue to improve the neighborhood. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Aguila?
Yes, thank you, sir, for your comments. I apologize. I was going to turn up your microphone, so if I miss anything, if the chair and the commission could please let me know. In terms of, I think you spoke first on the vacant building across the street, and then subsequently the garbage and the dumping adjacent to that property. So, as communicated earlier, the city, in collaboration with the city of Artesia, worked on this project. And so I will definitely convey your comments to our partners over at the City of Artesia. But I do want to note that in partnership with the City of Artesia and the Los Angeles County Sheriff Department, the city has, and the City Council's commitment for public safety has ramped up efforts towards the effort or towards encampment cleanups and garbage or dumping of materials. There is a street also on the west side of the city that is typically used for dumping. I don't know why, but it is. And so the city has recently been made aware that that has continued. It did stop a little bit during the COVID pandemic, but through the city council's priority to ensure appropriate cleanup of both encampments and then dumping sites, and then in partnership with both the sheriff's station and the city of Artesia, I will definitely bring this to the city of Artesia's attention for cleanup. And then next, I want to address the wall. You are absolutely right. Back in 2020, the wall was requested to be constructed first, and I would like for the gentleman who spoke, as well as the benefit of the commission, staff has included tonight the same project-specific condition of approval. In this case, it's project-specific condition of approval 75 that requires that wall, that 8-foot high sump block wall along the east property line, to be developed first during the grading phase of the project and prior to the building permit issuance for the homes. And that is to ensure with 100% certainty to permanently close off access to Clarkdale. And then if I can just comment, that wall will be taken all the way to the adjacent existing single-family home. So there will be no gap for pedestrian or vehicular access. It will be 100% completely closed by way of the 8-foot sump block wall that will be constructed first. And then the water and sewer modifications discussed, yes, there will be water and sewer modifications, and it's my understanding, and then also I do want to say that if and when Clarkdale Avenue is resurfaced, the applicant will also be required, or not if, when Clarkdale Avenue is resurfaced, the applicant will be required to run electrical conduit in the street for fiber connectivity for the homes and the push to encourage high-speed broadband in the city as well. And so I'm not aware of the duration to any impacts to residents in the neighborhood as a result of those water and sewer improvements. In a minute, I'll defer to Mr. Papa. But the reason for those water and sewer improvements is obviously the new added demand on both of those lines, and as proposed under the project and conditioned in the project-specific conditions of approval, those new utility lines will go by way of a 10-foot utility easement on the southern portion of the project site. So, Mr. Papa, do you have any insight on potential service disruptions to the existing neighborhood to the south of the property?
Thank you, Kristen. So I don't foresee any major significant impacts with regards to utilities. So when it comes to water, it's simply a connection of water laterals to the new homes. Any impacts could be mitigated by opening up the trench, getting it ready. There could be a momentary, maybe an hour of temporary impact while they make the connection and then turn the water back on. So that's typical. We do that around the city all the time when repairing laterals. With regards to the reclaimed water line, that line will have to be relocated. But in an instance like that, we're relocating a water line, we do what's called is a high line. So it's a temporary connection that reroutes the line around before we cut the pipe in between. So typically, what you'll see is the pipe close to the sidewalk, protected by, there'll be some protection around it, and that'll be an interim measure. But that's typically during an active construction site. So it'll be protected during construction activity. And lastly, with regards to the sewer, so the amount of sewer generated by the five homes is, It's a very small amount. There is a little bit of additional flow. So as part of the report, we identified the potential upgrade of the existing pumps. So what staff would do is we could replace the pumps, and there's a wet well, so kind of like a storage tank inside that pump station that could fill up while we're changing out the pumps, and there should be no disruption in service to the community. And if I may, I looked up while we were talking the answer with regards to the parks. So the closest parks are to the east is Loma Park. It's about 3/4 of a mile away and a 20-minute walk. And to the west is Ecology Park, which is about 0.67 miles away, and that is also an approximate 20-minute walk.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Papa, and thank you, Ms. Aguila. Any other people from the public that would like to comment on this agenda item?
Good evening, Chair and the planning staff. My name is Shiv Talwar. I'm the architect of the record for this project. And I appreciate, I think a lot has been said about this project description by Planner Christine and Jeremy, Planner. And I'm here to just answer any question, specific question architecturally or anything have. I want to thank especially Christine and Jeremy. They have taken a lot of efforts to review our project. So we went back and forth and we incorporated a lot of the comments about the privacy of the neighbors, and then also additional comments on the landscape and all that been incorporated into the project. And I've talked with the owner, and he unfortunately couldn't be here today, but he has agreed to accept all the conditions of approval. So I would request the commissioner to approve the project, and so we can go on to the next phase for construction documents and get this project going. Any questions, you're welcome to ask me.
I see that in the plan, you have a high-speed charging outlet in each one of the garages.
Yeah, that is required for EV charging stations.
However, do you know that you can run a separate power line or a separate meter for charging? Because that's the only way you're going to get a rebate for charging at night. So it has to be a separate line and a separate meter in order to facilitate that.
I'm not aware of the separate
Check it
meter
out,
for that.
SCE, yes.
If that's the case, when we get into the construction documents, we'll design that.
Thank you, Commissioner Chauhan. Commissioner Javari?
You're planning to build 5 houses and 5 ADUs. So how are you planning? Going to build all 10 at the same time, or one house, then the ADU, another house, and then the ADU?
That's a good question, but I'm the architect for the project, so the developer is not here today. So I will refer that to maybe the contractor is here. Maybe he can answer that question. But I'm mainly responsible for the architecture part of it and design part of it.
So with the
So the construction
contractor,
part, yeah,
no,
Mr. Ashu, do you have any idea how you intend to? You can come, say your name.
My name is Ashu Sharma. I'm the contractor for this project. We still haven't decided about it. We'll discuss with the owner how he wants to mobilize the funds for the project. But most probably we'll be building it in sequence. We build, say, like foundation for one house, then we move on to the next house, build foundation there, and so on. So it'll be done in a sequence. That's what I can perceive at the moment.
so it'll be one house and the ADU, another
Yeah.
house and ADU.
Not the whole house, but the trades that are involved in each of the house. So for example, we start with the foundation of the first house, we complete that, and then we move on to the second house. We'll be doing the foundation. On the first house, we'll start with the framing at that time. So they'll be done in a sequence. That's what we perceive at the moment.
So don't you think in that case, basically you're going to be doing all the houses at the same time?
Yes.
So would that be a kind of a nuisance for the neighbors?
I think it'll be less nuisance, because otherwise if we build one house completely and then we move on to the next one, it'll elongate the whole process. And the construction in that area will continue for a much longer time. We would like to finish the project maybe in 1 year or 15 months time frame. That's what we've planned.
And the
so far.
entire project in 15
The
months?
entire project, maybe max 18 months. And if we do one and then the next one and then the next one, it's going to take a lot longer.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah.
And then, so since the owner is not there again, that question remains about the relationship that we had. But then again, we can't answer that right now, right?
Yeah, no, you're not the owner yet, so. We can always check with him and get back with you on that. We'll let, we'll communicate with him and we'll get back.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure. All right, so
Any
thank
other
you.
question, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you, Commissioner Javeri. Do you have a question about, for the contractor or the architect? Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming over and giving us your explanation on your project. First of all, thank you. I mean, I, as a resident of Cerritos, I'm really happy that, there's new buildings, that you guys took the time and effort and the money to invest in our city. And this houses will be the only residential houses and the first residential houses on that street, correct? I mean, there's no other facing Clark there. They will be the 5 residential houses, the first and probably the last. You can't big lot anymore unless the commercial building in the corner gets, they move. So I'm really looking forward to the project because I think it will add, from what our resident for previous speaker says, is it will liven up the place, because across the street, that's Artesia, and it's really commercial, and it's at the back, and not a lot of property owner take care of the backside of the building. Like I said, I'm familiar with a club that on the weekends, Friday and Saturday, lines out there, cars, and I think that's something that we need to bring to the future homeowners because it's different on weekends. That place turns into something different, especially if they have parties and big events at that club. But I'm looking forward. Your rendering is great. I know it will look better once it's developed, and I think it will beautify that whole street because somebody's living there now. Somebody will tend the street. There'll be people there 24/7, because at night when the business is closed, I think that's where, some people, the unhoused people and people take advantage of the darkness and the neglect that's happening on that part of the city. But once we're there, I think it will be more the safety. People will be patrolling, hopefully, because we have new resident there. We have people that we need to take care of there. So thank you again for being here and giving light to your project. We really appreciate your presentation.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
everybody.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. Commissioner Al?
Yeah, just one point for clarification. You talk about the wall on the east side. On the south end, it abuts existing structure, right? To the north, does it go all the way to the northern edge of this subject property? Whether or not there is like a school fence there, we're gonna have this 8-foot tall wall. Is that correct?
Correct. The 8-foot wall will be on the northeast, which is the north adjacent to the office property, the east adjacent to the school property, and then the south adjacent to the single-family home.
So you said earlier that we're gonna build the wall first before we build the houses. Is that a precondition for this project? Do we need to have it there before we approve this project?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Au. That is a staff-recommended project-specific condition of approval number 75, that the wall be required to be constructed during the grading process and prior to the issuance of permits for the construction of the homes.
Thank you. And by the way, I want to compliment our wonderful staff members for a job well done, because I actually took time to check the measurements and specifications against our municipal code requirements, and they are consistent. So thank you very much for a job well done, and it makes our job a lot easier.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Al. We're still in the public hearing. If does anyone from the public want to comment on this agenda item, please come to the podium and identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Abel Izaraga, and I live in Shasta Circle. I just want to say that, I think this is a very good project. Most of my questions were answered by all of you guys, especially as staff members. I just have one suggestion. I don't know if City of Cerritos will consider it. The current problem that we have with the club at the weekends is the whole traffic that it causes. Cars parked all the way from Artesia to Frampton, the corner. So maybe for the sake of the new homeowners and the Cerritos and the City of Cerritos, I don't know if the Cerritos might consider probably setting up some kind of a municipal code that would require like a permit for our side of the, our side of the street, our city. I don't know, just a thought, that would probably ease or eliminate the problem that we currently have with the club at the weekends. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your comments, sir. Ms. Aguila?
Yes, thank you for your comment and suggestion. Staff will explore potential options, and I appreciate the speakers and the commission speaking about the existing use in the city of Artesia, and staff in both the Public Works Department and Community Development Department in partnership with the City Manager's Office will explore options to reduce, we can't eliminate, but reduce impacts to Cerritos properties as a result of the use in the city of Artesia.
Thank you, Ms. Aguila. Is there anyone from the public, any additional people from the public that would like to comment on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, close public hearing. Do my colleagues have any additional comments or questions on this item?
My only regret is that the other side, the Artesia side of the street, of course, this is not our job, but ideally, we would like to work with Artesia somehow to beautify the other side of the street, because imagine I am one of these new homeowners living on the east side of the Clarkdale Street, and walking out and look at the other side. You'd hope that it's more developed than just these backside of some of these warehouses. But again, that's just a comment. It doesn't really, it's not really relevant to our approval of this project tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Al. If there's no other questions or comments, I would like to entertain a motion for this item.
Madam Chair, I would like to move to approve project Precise Plan 2025-5.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been the motion by Vice Chair Reyes and seconded by Commissioner Javeri. Ms. Aguila?
Yes, thank you. If I can clarify the motion is to recommend approval of the precise plan by the city council. Is that amenable to the maker of the motion?
You are certainly correct.
Thank you. Okay, so with a with a motion by Vice Chair Reyes and a second by Commissioner Javeri, I will proceed with roll call vote. Commissioner Al?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Chauhan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Javeri?
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair Reyes?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair Polito?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes by a vote of 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to the architect and the contractor on this project, and we look forward to the completion. Thank you. And then thank you to the speakers that spoke on this item today. We appreciate hearing from you and coming down to speak on behalf of the residents. Thank you. Next, I would like to move to agenda item number 7, reports. First item is 7A, reports from designated commission liaison.
Thank you, Chair. I do not have any reports this evening. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguila. Next is item 7B, reports from planning commission members. And we'll start with Mr. Javeri.
Well, at this time, I do not have any report. However, firstly, I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Pulido on being the chair. I'd also like to welcome Commissioner Au, Commissioner Chauhan, and Commissioner Reyes on coming on board, and looking forward to working with you all. And congratulations to Commissioner Reyes on being the vice chair.
Thank you.
I also like to thank my council member and Mayor Pro Tem, Linda Johnson, for reappointing me once again. I think she's not tired of me yet. So I have enjoyed working on the Planning Commission. This is my 9th year. And I'm able to do so thanks mainly to the wonderful city staff who has been so supportive and so helpful all the way. So looking forward to working with you once again. And thank you, Councilmember Linda Johnson.
Thank you, Commissioner Javeri. Commissioner Chauhan?
And again, staff, thank you for the report. I like reading these things, believe it or not. Having said that, there is a request, and I don't know what the appropriate format for this is. There is a wonderful document that the city has, the Residential Design Manual. So in there, we have only 2 zoning criteria. We have a zone called RS 5000. We have a zone called RS 6500. And those, I imagine, were done when the city was being planned in the 1960s. However, when looking at housing and when looking at the new norm, I think we need a new designation. And I've thought about this quite a bit. We need something that is an RS 4000 or thereabouts, and we need to eliminate RS 6500. To make better use of the land, yes, we don't have much, but should it become available, it is a much better way to have, because if we had RS 4000 in place, we wouldn't have approved 5 houses today. We could have approved 8 houses that were individual, each house having 2 garage and 2 parking spot, which would have served the community and our housing design. Because most of the people in our community actually prefer single-family residence. And so it's a better use of land. So it would meet our requirements. It allows for greater density of housing without spoiling the perceived SFR guidelines that we have. So how does one go about asking the council to consider these new options so that if land becomes available in the future, that the developer will develop according to the space that's available? I'd like to see RS 5000 with a 55% coverage, keep it at 0.70 maximum. I think there's a beautiful design to be had there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chauhan. So generally speaking, I'll answer your question on how does the Planning Commission bring that in front of the City Council. So generally speaking, the Planning Commission serves as an advisory body to the City Council. And with that in mind, and under the City Charter and Municipal Code, only the City Council can direct the use of city resources, and that includes the use of city employees. And so Um, the city over time has established a policy in our administrative policy and protocol manual, and it's policy 6.02 related to commission and committee scope of authority. And under that policy, if there is a special project, in this case, we'll call this a special project, that the planning commission wants to pursue, or the planning commission wants the city to pursue, in this case, exploring the opportunity for creating a new zone. I do have questions about that I'll get to after I talk about process. But generally speaking, if the Planning Commission wants city staff to explore a new zone, it would require a majority vote of the Planning Commission for that matter to be referred to the City Council. And how is that referred to the City Council? It would be by way of an agenda report prepared by myself as the Planning Commission designated staff liaison to the City Council, advising the City Council of the request for special project as initiated by the Planning Commission, provide the vote to which that was referred to the City Council, as well as a copy of the meeting minutes, in this case, perhaps tonight. And then the City Council would consider that agenda item, and they have a few options afforded to them. The City Council, under the policy, the City Council can approve that special project and direct staff to proceed with that special project using city resources. They can refer the matter back to the Planning Commission with modifications, or they can deny the Planning Commission's request, the initial request to spend city resources on that special project. So generally speaking, that is the process. Now I'm happy to, I do have questions, and my questions are more to ensure that I'm understanding essentially the special project, the ask, before me this evening. And I just want to, for a point of clarification, you are interested in the city exploring the feasibility of establishing a new zone, in this case an RS 4000 zone, and to reduce lot sizes, to develop single-family homes, that the zone will be restricted to single-family residential development with parking requirements. And is there a specific area that you want us to explore applying? As you mentioned, the city is 99.8% built out, and so there are maybe, gosh, 2-3 vacant properties. Well, we tonight the Planning Commission filled one of those, so maybe now there are 3. Maybe there were 4, now there's 3. But all that to say, is there a specific property? I want to be able to, if so moved tonight and seconded, and by a majority vote of the Planning Commission, to direct that I present that special request to the City Council. I want to be sure that I am appropriately communicating the ask. And so that's one question, is that there a specific area? And then I do want to just make note for the benefit of the commission, when there is a property like this evening, this is a perfect time to bring this up because we have a perfect example that you just considered today. When there is a property that a developer wants to build, in this case, for the developer's ease, the property was already zoned for residential. But let's just say hypothetically, there's a property that is not zoned for residential. We'll choose commercial. It's zoned commercial. If the city appropriately assesses the existing site, and I say assesses in terms of, would the development of residential enhance the surrounding neighborhoods? Would it enhance the city of Cerritos? Is there benefit that comes from the development of housing on an existing commercially zoned property? Are there impacts to surrounding properties, adjacent properties, the city? And if we get to a place where hypothetically a residential development, it could be single family, it could be multifamily, is proposed on a property that is not zoned residential, we have in the past brought forth with the precise plan, which is the development of the housing, amendments to our general plan and amendments to our land use, the zoning and land use of that property. So this is just an example, but in the scenario I was talking about changing a commercial property to allow for residential, we would rezone the property to be in a specific plan. In the city of Cerritos, specific plans are called area development plans, or ADPs. We currently have 17 ADPs in the city of Cerritos. I'll give an example. The Encore gated community, single-family residential gated community, Shadow Park gated community. Those are area development plans where there are specific development standards, specific setback requirements, and architectural enhancement material requirements, and height requirements and percentage of landscaping. And that through the creation of that zone, the area development plan, we can establish site-specific. So in this case, we'll go back to Encore or Shadow Park because that's easy, where we create development standards through that specific plan that are applicable just to that development, that are, for Shadow Park, that are perhaps more restrictive than that in the RS 5000 or RS 6500 zone. And so the creation of specific plans is used for that purpose. And if the city is going to use, by way of a general plan amendment or development code amendment tool to rezone a property to accommodate residential development, we're going to do so with the highest development standards possible. All that to say, the rights given to affordable housing developers and the rights given to private property owners for the development of ADUs applies to any property where residential development is a permitted use. So Shadow Park, Encore, any ADP that we establish, or in this case RS 4000, as suggested by the commissioner, we would be required to allow ADUs. Now, without getting into too much nuances, an ADU does not just mean the development of a detached separate unit in the back. An ADU can also take the form of an attached ADU, an add-on to an existing residence with a separate entrance from the primary residence. It can also take the form of a garage conversion. There are a lot of opportunities afforded by state legislation for that. And so by way of an RS 4000 or an area development specific plan, the city would still be required to allow ADUs. So
Yes, I understand.
Thank
that.
you.
I truly do understand. And my intent in proposing this is to give the city one more tool. We can't wait for the land to appear, but if we have codes that are available, then, because this developer only had two options, 5,000 and 6,500. He chose the 6,500, he proposed it, the council approved it. In terms of developing this particular project, my intent is by doing RS 4000, it's a better use of any land that may become available. One of the projects that I heard it's been quite a while, was at the Artesia and Carmenita. There's a shopping center, Worry Market, and it's a shopping center that's not exactly doing very well. And this whole idea of housing has come and gone. Our residents have been excited and come up with various statements. And my intent is just that since it's next to single-family residence, it would be wonderful to have another option that's a little bit more modern, a little bit more narrow. We can put more houses there just to give one more option. And my desire to remove 6,500 is so that we make better use of the land, any land that we can get, there are proposals out there where land may become available. It has no business of the city itself, but should it become available, then we need to have RS codes that are then available to the developers.
Thank you, Commissioner. If I may provide some additional background. So by way of the general plan and then the associated Cerritos Municipal Code, every property in the city of Cerritos, every single parcel in the city of Cerritos through this 2004 general plan has a zone, a designated zone. So the properties before you today, the developer didn't choose RS 6500. The city designated that property as RS 6500 back in 2004. And so every property has a zone. And so the city, and I'll refer to the city attorney, but creating an RS 4000 zone would we'd be required to identify properties to apply that zone. And so we'd have to identify, we'd have to, select specific properties in the city and then do general plan amendments and development code amendments to change the zones of those properties from whatever they are today to RS 4000. And so if the recommendation for the special project includes specific sites that you have in mind, we can include that in the special project ask. But if it's just so that staff explore potential feasible locations for an RS 4000 zone, I'd be seeking that clarification this evening.
I have no specific property in mind, none. It's just a better use of land space should some become available. Because if we assume that certain things are going to happen, then of course it may be problematic because we are not in any control of any property. It's up to the private individuals to sell and seek permission from the council.
And then, so if I may, just from this conversation, so the intent of the zone would be to have smaller parcel sides to facilitate the construction of a greater quantity of homes.
Absolutely.
Are there specific development standards? You had mentioned 55%.
And again, so that is following the logic that we have on page 28 of the Residential Design Manual, which, again, we should read it. It is really a wonderful document. And the whole idea is better use of land space. So that, for me, this community thrives on single-family residence. It really does. And that's what the residents also want to see. They were up in arms when it was proposed at one point that there might be townhomes going in that specific area. So people were very upset. So if we can do something where it's available, and the community would also be, and it actually puts us in a good light with the state to say that we're not anti-housing community, that we do want to build housing where land becomes available.
Okay, thank you. So having talked about the process for a city resources on this special project, Commissioner Chauhan, will you, Chair, it would be appropriate to call for a motion, or Commissioner Chauhan, you certainly can make a motion. And then following the motion, I would call for a second and a vote. And as mentioned, if the motion passes by a majority of the Planning Commission, I, as a commission liaison, would prepare a report for consideration by the City Council if the City Council so moves to direct staff to work on that special project. At this time...
And at this point, this would be very trouble, because I've given my council member, no opportunity. This is my thought, so do we have to do it today? Can we wait for the next meeting? So to give them an opportunity to think, ponder whether my ideas are worthy of...
I think that's a better way to look at it. It's a great idea, great thought, great going by. He's actually done a lot of homework, and maybe we could put that, if it's possible to put it on one of the items, maybe for the next meeting, we can have a discussion. No.
So we staff can't spend staff resources on
No, you don't
on
need to.
that.
No, you don't.
And so it would be, we definitely don't need to do it tonight. If the commissioners would like to think about this, and ultimately, I serve at the pleasure of the planning commission. And so if not tonight and or not this idea, I'm always available to take suggestions and special project requests by the planning commission at any time, and I'm happy to follow that policy to bring it in front of the city council if approved by a majority vote of the planning commission. Absolutely. So it's up to you whether you would like me to proceed in that fashion or not.
Is it
Madam
possible
Chair-
to do it next meeting?
Is the question if the commissioner can make a motion, call for a second, and the chair can call for a vote at the next meeting?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Vice
do we-
Chair raised.
I'm just
a
trying to
question.
understand the process. Do we have a thing here that says who talk first or second, or do we just?
That is at the pleasure of the
Yeah,
chair.
just-
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But
Yes.
she doesn't know who's wants to speak. Like at the school board, there's
No.
lights
No.
and
Yeah,
sensors.
exactly.
It's at the
You know what I'm saying?
I just
That-
call
that's
you.
exactly-
Without just because sometimes check
Yes.
couldn't see.
It's at the
Yeah.
pleasure of the chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Chauhan, I love the idea because now we're talking about high density projects as opposed to consider serious low density projects. So I would love to explore the idea, but I am not equipped to either vote in support or against your motion. But I would be open for discussion, and like Mr. DJ says that if we could have an agendized item and we can have talk about it because of the Brown Act, I cannot discuss this serially with Kirit and Gloria and but I would love to have a robust discussion in this forum and where the community come out also if they know that this will be part of the discussion. I would like to get that input from the community. I would like to have this discussion with each and every one of you and then make a decision based on what the discussion goes to.
Thank you, Commissioner. Unfortunately, because of the limitations that Ms. Aguila discussed as per the policy, we wouldn't be able to formally agendize it and put it on the agenda because that would still direct staff resources to go ahead and do so. But we're open to, having any sort of discussion by the planning commissioners at any time, at any meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions or comments for Mr. Chauhan?
So can I ask can we have a discussion about this at the next meeting so that it gives you a chance to think about it and see if there's any consideration, because one of those things is that I sit there and I think about it. As you go home, you'd say, well, here's the pros and cons. I'd look at both sides of any equation. So it gives us a chance to consider it and say, something, this would be good, this would be. Sometimes on surface, some ideas sound really great until you flesh them out. So therefore, I would respectfully ask for just nothing more than just a discussion amongst us at the next meeting without taking up any of the staff time.
So we've heard from Commissioner Javeri and then Vice Chair Reyes. Commissioner Al, do you have any questions or comments about Commissioner Chauhan's idea? Or
So, if I may, Madam Chair, similar to this evening, any commissioner can bring up any item for discussion during reports from the designated liaison. So if the question is, can the Planning Commission have a fruitful conversation on this matter after they've had time to digest it? They absolutely can, similar to what we're doing tonight at the appropriate item for reports from the designated. Oh, we're on the wrong item. I'm sorry. On the screen, I'll change that. Reports from the commissioners. We can definitely continue the conversation next week next month, if brought forward by the Planning Commission at that time, before the Planning Commission, before there's a motion or a second or a vote on whether or not to refer the matter to the City Council. You certainly can do so.
great. And then if you would also like to share the information that you reference, I guess, for the rest of Yes, that'd be great for background information.
Actually,
if we,
it's a document created by the city itself. It's a wonderful document.
great.
Subsequent to tonight's meeting, I would be happy to transmit the residential design manual to the members of the Planning Commission. It is on the city's website, but I will definitely tomorrow get you all a link to the residential design manual. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Chan. Commissioner Al?
Can I start a different
Oh, you, for
subject?
your report.
Yeah.
Your report.
The Chow House ideas, I think that they are good ideas, but I need some time to think through, and I'll be happy to discuss with you at our next meeting in this agenda item. I do have something else to share with my colleagues on the commission. On April 23rd, I went to the Artesia Library, attended a listening session for the LA County Measure G. What this is that last year in November, the general election, voters approved a ballot measure called Measure G. It's also referred to as the LA County Governance Reform. And so being the most populous county in the nation, with over one quarter of California's population living here, I think whatever happens in the county's governance, it's going to have a rippling effect nationwide, and also certainly it's going to affect us as one of the 88 incorporated cities in LA County. So that's why I was interested. I went there to listen to it. What this is that the Measure G calls for 5 items to be done before 2030. One is that they want to establish a director of budget and management. Second, they want to establish a commission for ethics. Another commission they want to establish for the charter, for the county charter. And then the 2 most interesting items is one is that they want to expand the current board of supervisors from 5 to 9. And the last one is the most interesting, is that currently the county executive is kind of like our city manager, is appointed by the Board of Supervisors. But as of 2028, which is 3 years from now, this position will be elected instead of appointed. So that causes some confusion, what's the power structure of the county and who is the chief executive going to be reporting to. So I went there, and so the county contracted a company called KH Consulting, and they were doing these listening sessions countywide, I think about at least a dozen, more than a dozen, in different locations. They want to get public input. Also, they're assembling a task force to implement this newly passed law. They have several years to do it, but before they start, they want to get input from the public. So when I was there, the issues raised were, first of all, the transparency and accessibility of county government. Do we really know what kind of departments there are in LA County, and how do we access them? That's one issue. Another issue is redundancy and efficiency. So for instance, park and recreation. There's County Department for Parks and Recreation. There's City Department or Commission for Parks and Recreation. So there is a lot of redundancy. So for instance, the regional park, does it belong to the county? Does it belong to the city? Who is in charge of certain parts, the sports facility, for instance? So there's some confusion there. There's also a issue about the cost. Currently, we have the county has a $48 million budget each year. And so once you create these new commissions and elect more supervisors, is it going to cost more? And where's the money going to come from? Because county is running a deficit budget right now. Finally, the interesting part is that what is the power structure going to become, and especially the chief executive, is it going to act like the governor of the state, and the board of supervisors be reduced to a body of a legislature, or is it the same power structure currently? The board of supervisors have the ultimate authority, and the elected executive just reports to the supervisors. These are issues that the people raised, attendees raised, and there's, of course, no answer to these questions. It's just, they're also conducting a public survey. If you Google Measure G public survey, there's a survey site. Takes about 20 to 30 minutes to complete it, and I think as residents of LA County, if we care about these things, we probably should pay attention to that. So that's my report from that listening session.
Thank you, Commissioner Al. Vice Chair Reyes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, I have nothing significant to report. So there it goes.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. First of all, I wanted to congratulate Commissioner Chaveri on his reappointment by the City Council. Congratulations. Thank you to our wonderful staff for all your hard work and supporting us, providing information, doing your due diligence. And we, as I always say, we have the best staff, high caliber staff, and a lot of you commit your time and your talent. We're just so lucky to have you as part of our team. And then I just wanted to also commend my commissioners for all your ideas and all your insights. It's just a great start with this new commission, just hearing all your feedback on all your out-of-the-box ideas. It's just really kind of refreshing to hear and to learn and to get your knowledge. So I really appreciate about what you're contributing. The events that I attended recently was on April 26th, the Ube Festival and Spring Festival that the city hosted at Don Columbia Regional Park. Both events were there. Despite the rain, people still stayed, and there was a huge turnout for the festival. And subsequently, the Spring Festival. Appreciate all the performers, the parents coming out to kind of showcase the younger generation's talent in the city, and where they get their start is in these classes, and then they go on to bigger things. So I just appreciate seeing that. And then the fireworks at the end, really different from the 4th of July. So I think it was really, really great to see everyone attending that. And then I just also want to bring up regarding this agenda item, if I know that there was brought up about the housing element, if I guess for background for our new commissioners, if you could kind of provide like that 2021 to 2029 housing element report. I think that I know because I know I had that last time about which sites the city looks at for potential sites for housing. I think that'd be good for them to have in the future if any other items like this come up.
Sure, absolutely. Would you advise that we provide the city council agenda report with the housing element attached so that there's additional context of the report that was provided to the council for adoption?
Sure.
Okay, we can definitely get that to all 5 of you.
Right.
No problem.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then lastly, before we close out the meeting, I know it was done at the city council meeting last night, and it was announced that I would like to adjourn in memory of longtime resident Rick Needham, who's passed away on May 2nd at the age of 84. And as you know, he's the husband of Diana Needham, who is a former mayor and council member, the first woman mayor and council member of our city. But she also served on this commission not too long ago. She was married to her husband for 58 years. And I just wanted to wish the Needham family comfort and wish them the best getting through this difficult time. And then may Mr. Needham rest in eternal peace. And then that's it. And then I'd like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.